Hey guys, welcome to hopefully only the next 4 weeks of school. Um, just a couple of things that I found out today. You are going to need to be checking in with me and your other teachers on Mondays. So we're going to be coming around, make sure, online of course, that we're hearing from you guys in one form or another, whether it's on a Google Classroom type thing or a group meet or a phone call. We're going to come and be looking for you on Mondays. I'm going to be posting things, guys, as we go. I'm going to try to do one act a week. We are a good bit through Act 1 already, so that's why it's kind of good that we're kind of finishing that act out this week. For that, there's going to be a couple of things that I want you guys to do. And of course, you can do that online. It'll be the same materials that you get and the same assignments as you would get if you got them in person. If you're wanting to grab those materials, Ms. Gagnon is going to be putting that information out pretty soon. So think middle to the end of this week if you're interested in the paper materials like your textbook and whatnot. For each scene, I'm wanting you guys to keep track of what's going on. I'd like you to have some little summaries and stuff ready for yourself. That way, once we get further into the text, you don't forget what happened in Act 1, for example. What we're going to be doing is that, as well as discussing like we normally would, but we're just going to do it in a digital format. I want everybody to respond to the questions I ask in the video. There's going to be 3. And then I want everybody to pose their own question, and I would like everybody to respond to somebody else's question. So, for example, if Alyssa posts a question, then somebody else needs to respond to her. For example, Jai. Just make sure that you're questioning each other and answering those, and those will be your grades, guys. I am going to look at that. I will be giving feedback. You know me. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be with you guys every step of the way. I'm going to try to post these, maybe not every day, every couple of days perhaps, just depending on where we are with the material. Guys, as always, please ask me questions if you're not sure about what's going on. I did post a digital PDF of Hamlet. If you have your textbook, good on you. You have that as well. But you can also find a different version if you don't like the one I posted. I just know I've used that one before, and it's been pretty accurate to the textbook. Also, if you want to listen to it, guys, you're welcome to find an audio, and you're welcome to read together if you want to FaceTime and whatnot and get together to read. Please do so. I want you to understand, and you know that's always my biggest thing. I want you guys to understand and be aware of what's going on in the text. So I'm going to go ahead and review a little bit because I know it's been a little minute and it's been a whole lot of crazy since we started reading Act 1. So remember, in Act 1 we started with the soldiers, and the soldiers were on guard and they found a ghost. Not found the ghost per se, but you know. A ghost showed up, and the ghost happened to look a whole heck of a lot like Hamlet Sr., which is Hamlet Jr.'s dad that has just recently passed away. We have 3 people in the first scene before we see the ghost. Bernardo, Francisco, and Horatio. And of course, Horatio is the main character out of the 3 of those. And they are kind of like, oh, Horatio doesn't believe in the ghost, but aha, in comes Ghost at the perfect moment. Remember that Horatio is Hamlet's best friend, and remember he's kind of like really intelligent. He's seen as really intelligent, at least. He's kind of the scholarly sort, and that's why they decide to let him try to talk to the ghost. And they are like, well, if you're the smartest guy, you should do it, not us. But of course, they opt for attempting to poke it with a stick when it does not talk back. And at the end of the scene, remember, they say, well, the game plan should be to go ahead and ask Hamlet to come out and see if Hamlet, the ghost, will talk to Hamlet Jr. So we had that in scene 1. Then in scene 2, we started with Claudius the king and Gertrude talking to Laertes at first and the people in the court. So Claudius starts off with saying quite a few things, mostly about I, me, Claudius. Remember, he loves the royal we as well. So he talks about the fact that he's gotten remarried. He's gotten married to Gertrude to keep the society stable. You know, he's doing it all for the people. But as you will see as the text goes on, it's really not for the people, and that should be pretty obvious, seeing how he's the villain of the play. So he talks about that. He talks about his power and how he's going to stabilize the government. And then he kind of sends some paperwork off to make sure that Fortinbras Jr., remember the other kind of low down evil guy of the text, to kind of get him in his place through his uncle. So the king starts talking to Laertes. Remember, that's Polonius's son. That's Polonius is the king's like servant kind of guy, his lord at the castle, but he's not seen as very intelligent. So Laertes is like, yo, Claudius, I want to go back to school. And Claudius was like, well, duh, you're a young guy. Like, get it done. Go be you. Go have all the time you want. And we get Hamlet's first line after this short conversation. Remember, he has an aside, which is a conversation kind of straight to us. It's just a quick, like, so we know. It's like a hint, hint, nudge, nudge. He says a little more than kin and less than kind, which is one of the most famous Shakespeare lines you're going to read in this text. There's a few others, but that is definitely one of them. Remember, we talked about it already. A little more kin, as in double family. Claudius is now his uncle and his stepfather, and he's less than kind, so he's not really a nice guy. Even though we saw in the last scene he was speaking very nicely to people, he's not really that nice, and kind of a jerk, and very self-centered. All about that self. Then we have Hamlet come in, full-fledged, having his, conversation with Gertrude and Claudius, and they're like, oh, why are you so sad? Hamlet's like, my dad just died? Clearly you don't remember that. And the king tells us quite a few things about Hamlet. He says a lot of things about Hamlet. So that'll be a question I want you guys to kind of respond to. What are some of the things that Claudius says about Hamlet? And do you think that's fair? You as the student, do you think it's fair? That he says that about Hamlet and his behavior. Hamlet is kind of asked not to go back to school, and by asked, I mean kind of told in a polite way, you won't be returning back to school, so just accept it. And he does. He follows his mom and uncle / stepdad's advice, and he stays home from school, and we have our first soliloquy by Hamlet. And Hamlet's kind of like, you're lucky I didn't kill myself already, because it's against my religion. But he doesn't. He's really sad about his dad's death. And he's really not happy about his mom. He says, frailty, thy name is woman. You're remarried, you're doing all these awful things, and my dad's barely dead. So we have that conversation going on, and then right after Hamlet finishes kind of pouring out his emotions to us unknowingly, Horatio and Marcellus pop up, and they're like, dude, we saw your dad. And he's like, yeah, me too. And they're like, you too? Where'd you see the ghost? And he's like, no, I saw him in my head. And he's like, oh, no, we saw the ghost of your dad. And he's like, where? Tell me all the details. And of course, he tells him all the details. And he says that he's kind of dressed for war. And so that seems really, really weird. And the country seems like it's in turmoil. And it seems just really, really bad. Kind of like it is right now. But we have this conversation. Of course, at the end, they decide that that's what they're going to do. They're going to go and they're going to go to watch, and they're going to see this ghost. And they're going to try to get Hamlet to talk to them. Next, we have scene 3. We started scene 3, but we didn't finish scene 3. In scene 3, we have Laertes and Ophelia at first. And remember, that's a brother-sister. And they're talking about Hamlet. And her brother warns her, hey, watch out for Hamlet. He's a king first, and he's also a guy first. So watch out that he doesn't take your virginity and not, be able to reciprocate those feelings, and he doesn't marry you, then you can't get married. But also keep in mind that he's a king, and even if he loves you with all the love in his heart, his kingdom will always have to come first. And she's like, okay, I see what you're saying. And Polonius walks in, and Polonius is seen as the play idiot. He's not very intelligent, guys, and he gives Laertes a lot of advice. Go ahead, and I want everybody to think about one piece of advice that Laertes is given, by Polonius. And that'll be another question. I want you guys to tell me one thing that you think Polonius tells Laertes before he leaves back for school. And then I want you guys to go ahead and finish up scene 3. It's only another page and a half, and complete scene 4. In scene, the rest of scene 3 and scene 4, mostly scene 4, I want you guys to tell me, this will be your third question, 5 things you can tell me about Hamlet's character. So we're going to be looking at characterization with this unit. Plays are typically pretty heavy on characterization, but Shakespeare is known for it. This is one of the things that makes him super famous, and I want you guys to pay extra special attention to Hamlet's character, because he's not stereotypical, and he's not the typical guy, which Fortinbras is kind of going to show us that he's not the typical son at this time. So Hamlet's special, he's different. And again, I want you guys to tell me 5 things you can tell me about Hamlet's character. Everything else I want in complete sentences as much as possible, guys. This, you can just make a list of 5 things you know about him or you think you know about him. And try to keep track of where you're finding this information, guys, just in case you're interested in seeing it again later, or we end up needing that information at another time in the play. As of now, guys, it's going to be April 20th before we come back, but I'll give you guys as much information as I can. I'm going to go ahead and post this with the rest of the information on Google Classroom, and this will just be extra information for you. And again, we're going to be focusing on that characterization for the most part. Sorry, guys, I just keep looking at the GroupMe with all y'all chatting in there. Thank you so much for those of you who have been helping me get everybody in there and on Google Classroom. I really appreciate all your help, and I'm going to be reachable. You guys know I try to pride myself on being very reachable for you guys. Feel free to use GroupMe, feel free to email me, feel free to talk to me over Google Classroom. Again, you're going to be checking in on Mondays, and I will be giving due dates for the assignments so that I can see what you're doing and I can give you grades for those. We're going to be taking paper grades for now. I'm going to be writing those on paper. So don't be checking Power School at the moment looking for those, because they won't be in right now. And please, guys, if you have any questions, come and talk to me. And by that, I mean text me, email me, whatever you got to do, get the information. Make sure you stay on top of your classmates to get that in as well. As information becomes available, I'm going to give that straight to you guys. And due dates may be a little stretchy right now, just to make sure everybody gets into Google Classroom, everybody's completing the work, and please let me know if you need any extra support. I'm here for you guys. I miss you guys already, and hope to see y'all sooner rather than later. Bye, ducklings.